Hello, concerned citizens. You know, Jeff and I are always telling you about how if you support us on Patreon, you get access to bonus audio every week that is essentially an entire second show. And yet, we have never proved it to you. This is an award-winning science podcast. Obviously, you are award-winning science listeners, and as such, you're going to need some data. So, we have attached this week's bonus audio to this very episode. It's about to start right now. And if you enjoy it, and we hope you do, head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns and support us at the $3 a month level or more to get audio like this every week.
Didn't I see you in a costume? What was it? Oh, it was Shaggy. It was Shaggy and Scoob.
Yeah, so we're doing on It's Too Early every Friday this month. We're doing Costume Friday. So nice. Sage and I are doing costumes. So last week we were, I was Shaggy and she was Daphne, but she was like Hex Girls Daphne, like the cool metal band Daphne.
Oh, fun.
And we've been doing them. We've been doing them every week. We did. What else did we do? I don't know. We've had to do one a week. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
But next week is the big finale where we're doing our big costumes, because I have several.
Well, that's why I was saying
costumes.
I saw a costume. I didn't know if it was the costume.
You know that I take costumes very seriously.
I do know that. I do.
I'm as a matter of fact, like one of the things about how people are like, I think seems like you love Halloween, and it's like, well, I like Halloween.
Yeah.
But the thing is, my perfectionist ADHD brain, my all or nothing brain tells me that if I'm not in the greatest costume, why get into a costume at all?
Exactly.
What am I going to wear? Some store-bought garbage costume? No, eat shit.
Yeah.
I have to be in the best costume ever. So right. I have several. I think, you know what I think it was that did that to me is, do you remember like when family sitcoms, like during the 80s and the 90s, they would do their Halloween episode, and they wouldn't just be in costumes that a normal family would have. Right. They would be in these amazing...
Because they had a costume department building costumes for them.
Right. So they would be in these amazing $1,000 costumes. And so I was always like, when we would go to the store to look for costumes, I would look at them all and just be like, oh, these are trash. I think that's what started like an entire generation of cosplayers. Is like...
That's so funny. It might be true. It may be linked back to that. I know that for me, the first costume I remember wearing, well, there's two. So the very first costume I remember wearing in preschool, my best friend in preschool, which was just the one kid whose mom was friends with my mom. And so we were like, de facto best friends.
Yeah, you didn't know any better. You were best
choose.
Friends.
Yeah, you don't choose. You're just the one that your mom brings you around.
Child, this is child.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay, I'll play with you. You're my best friend.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
He was Batman and I was Robin.
That sucks.
No, dude. If you see I'll have to show you. Like, there's pictures.
No, why did you wind up being Robin?
Did you
remember, want to?
I don't remember not thinking that was not the coolest thing in the whole world. I remember thinking like being Robin would be the best thing ever.
As long as you were into it.
Yeah, I'm like 4 or 5 or whatever. I don't know that Robin's a sidekick. I just think he's another superhero who's got better colors, Yeah.
I think, because when I was a kid, the Adam West one was on syndication, and I thought Robin was cool because he was a young guy who was like doing young guy shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my friend who was Batman, so he was Batman, I was Robin. He was wearing the store-bought like 80s plastic mask with the rubber band around the back.
Yes. And then the costume wasn't a costume that looked like Batman's costume. It had a picture of Batman in costume on the chest.
Yes. And it's like plastic. It's like that thin plastic that it's almost like a smock more than a costume.
It's a rain poncho that has a picture of Batman on it.
Yeah. And a horrible plastic, flimsy ass mask with a rubber band. It's not even a cowl you pull over your head. It was just
no.
Okay. Now, in contrast to that, my grandma, who was like a legit seamstress, made me a Robin costume from scratch, from fucking felt at the store,
Wow.
I was a kick-ass Robin. She made like little overlays for my shoes so they looked like his green booty, that he wore. And she made a full-on cape and a full mask and like the whole thing, dude. It looked baller. And I remember thinking it was the greatest thing ever. And there's a picture of me that I still have in preschool where we did our little preschool parade, that you do.
Yeah.
And my friend is standing there like awkwardly in his Batman costume. And I'm like posing like a superhero, like with my gloves, my custom made felt gloves and like my mask and just like owning Robin so hard. And I think that for me was from then on, it was like, you don't buy a costume at the store.
No.
You craft a costume.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we live in such a golden age right now where, I mean, it's of course this year it's been incredibly hard because of the athlete's foot, but we live in a golden age of drop shipping and forgeries. And so if you need like a costume for any character, like it's not just like, do you need this character from this anime? It's like, which season of the anime do you want to be that character from?
Yeah.
And then you can order it from like some drop shipped place in China, and it gets to like, you need to give it some time. And unfortunately this year has been rough for that, but like you can look real good. Like my Flash costume is like TV quality. It's like 3 seasons behind, but it's TV quality.
It's awesome. And it's so true, like the level of costuming, and it's because of cosplay, right? It's because costuming is not just a Halloween endeavor anymore. It's a year-round pursuit.
Yeah. Oh, I do remember who I was for the first week of costume week. I was Gerudo Link from Breath of the Wild. I was like
nice.
I was like sexy Link in the belly dancer costume.
Nice.
Yeah. I love my Gerudo Link costume.
That's pretty. I got to see a picture of that.
It's very good. I'll send one to you right now, as a matter of fact, because it's hilarious. Halloween is I have complicated feelings on it, man. I want to like Halloween a lot more than I do. I feel like you
what
probably
don't you like about it?
I don't know. Halloween has the air of intense anticipation and preparation that I feel like a lot of holidays have, where it can lead to a lot of disappointment.
Yeah.
Like a build up. It feels to me, it feels almost only second to like New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve better be great.
You gotta have some big thing that happens. Yeah.
We better be doing some crazy shit. We better be like at midnight. We better all be together. Better all be our friends. We either better be dressed to the nines or partying so crazy and like, because this is it. And like, we better, it's just like, dude, just chill. Please just chill. Please. And I feel like Halloween has a lot of that same energy sometimes, particularly like here in LA, where everybody, like you were saying, everybody's like a cosplayer, everybody's in the industry,
right?
So everybody wants to get like, everybody takes their theme party really serious because they're all theater kids.
It's so true. It's so
true.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure around it.
I just feel sometimes I feel like let's just take it easy on Halloween and let Halloween be Halloween and not do. I feel like it's a totally different vibe for you though. Now that your kids have consciousness.
It's true. I used to love Halloween because of all that, because of the party and the costume and like showing up and seeing what your friends came up with and what you came up with and, trying to out clever everybody with your, brilliant costume. Now it was fun, super fun. But now Halloween is like, what are the kids going to be? What's the plan for getting them to houses with the athlete's foot? It's more challenging.
Yeah. But it does become, you do remember that it is mostly a children's holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, like, but the cool thing is I'm in that wonderful place where they're old enough to trick or treat, but not old enough to consume that amount of candy.
Right.
So I get to have the candy.
Yeah, that's mostly for you.
They're just my little candy procurers.
That's mostly you get that. Yeah, that's good. It's funny because like I feel like every city that I've lived in has had its own different vibe for Halloween too.
Yeah.
Where like New York was very much like the sort of thing that you see on like it was internet costumes, right? So it was like, my costume is a pun. Can you figure out the pun?
Right.
Like New York was all about that. Like New York was just like, Yeah, no, it was like a portmanteau name. I can't even think of one right now off the top of my head. But it was like, somebody would be like,
Rosemary's Boss Baby.
Yeah, Rosemary's Boss Baby, or like somebody would be like Bill Murray Hill. You know what I mean? Like it was just like you got to figure out what it is, and then sometimes it would be like couples doing it. You'd have to figure out what the two of them were, and that was New York. And then San Francisco was just drinking, because San Francisco was put on whatever you have that you can claim as a costume and go out drinking, and LA is like very like San Francisco was like, what is in my closet right now that's a costume?
Yeah.
And then LA is very like, motherfucker, I have a $600 costume.
Did you ever do West Hollywood's Halloween night?
No.
Like on Sunset? Because I lived right there. So we did it a few years. Just kind of, it's pretty spectacular. Like it's where people go who have spent the most amount of time and money on their costumes and are there. It's like being in the lobby of Comic-Con. It's like, I'm here for you to take pictures with me because you are so amazed by my level of artistry, which is cool. It's into
very
that.
Cool. It's very cool.
But yeah, I mean, that was like people with full on, I remember seeing one that was like Exorcist, that it had a full bed that the dude could carry. And then it like was on levers. So it would like the body would levitate, like he was standing beneath the bed, but there was a fake body and his head, right? So the body could levitate above the bed and like just crazy stuff, That's amazing.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. I love that so much. And that's the thing is like, I want to be out and I want to see those people, but I don't want to feel like I have to participate with those people.
I know. That's kind of how I was. I was like in my little simple costume, just like seeing the sights, kind of how I go to Comic-Con, where it's like, I'll do a costume-ish. I'm not costumed,
right?
but I'm also not the guy anybody's going to be asking to have a picture with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The fun thing for me was like when I was working those events a lot is like you can sometimes those costumes can be part of like your budget, like your work budget for it. And they'll also like, if it's themed around the thing, they'll also like help you out with finding it. So people, so like when I did my episode 7 Poe costume and I had like the jacket and everything, it was cool because I got to write that off. Like I made it myself, but I got to like write that off, which was which was cool because it was like, oh, I get to spend this money on this costume and not worry about it. And then like the other thing about costumes is I don't understand where cosplayers put all their costumes.
Yeah. Dude, I remember that one year when we went to PAX and you spent all the time on that costume and literally like walked off stage, walked over to a garbage can and threw the costume in the garbage can. And I was like,
I put it in the trash.
For like 3 weeks, all you've been talking about is figuring out how you're going to find all these parts and like, oh man, I hope the thing arrives in time. And, oh, I found the perfect thing. And that's all I could hear about was like how you were so excited. You do the thing on the stage and you walk off the stage and it goes in the garbage.
It went in the garbage. It was like football pads and shit.
Yeah.
It was like a Mad Max thing.
Yeah.
It was like a weird Mad Max style character for PAX wrestling. And I did it, and then I was just like, I'm not bringing football pads on the plane. And I asked anybody in the room if they wanted football pads, and they said no, and I threw it out. Because where do people put this shit? I have my stormtrooper. It's not even a full stormtrooper. It's like it's Inferno Squad.
Oh,
so it's like the jumpsuit with the boots and stuff from like Battlefront 2.
That's cool.
It's cool. That chest plate doesn't fold. Those boots are not small.
Yeah.
I live in a loft apartment. I don't know where to put all this shit. So like the nice thing about doing like the Star Wars costumes is like Lucasfilm stores those for me. So like my Obi-Wan like is that's in the Star Wars office. And if I want to be Obi-Wan at an event, I call them up and I go, hey, pack the Obi-Wan when you pack all the production stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But like the Stormtrooper one, I don't let them store at the office because I want to have that helmet. Even though I don't have it on display, I just want to have the helmet with me and I want to know
just
that it's okay.
Just in case you need it. If you need it, you never know and you might need it.
Are you doing your wife likes the family costumes. Is that a thing this year?
She does. I mean, we're at the point where the kids dictate the costumes. So there was talk of doing all of Bluey. You know Bluey, right? The
No,
Disney
but
plush.
you ask me every time if I know Bluey.
It is.
Is that the one that's a
legit
show
one
for
of the-
parents, but it's for kids, but it's really for parents?
Yes, it's legit one of the best shows of all time. It's amazing. But yeah, it's a family of dogs, and so we were gonna do like all of the dogs. But then my son is so into Mario, and by proxy, my daughter is into Mario because she hears him talk about Mario. That like all the run up to Halloween has been like what Mario character everybody is going to be. Okay, Daddy, you're going to be Bowser. Mommy, you're going to be Princess Peach. Zoe, you're going to be, Jack wants to be Tanuki Mario or Fireball Mario. Like, he can't just be regular Mario.
He can't just be the Mario that you can get at the store.
No, of course not. He has to make it difficult for mom and dad.
Yeah.
And then, Zoe's like Ice Ball Mario or Ice Ball Luigi or something crazy. And it's like, okay, well, it's maybe slow our roll a little bit.
And
son.
how does your wife feel about this? Because you did Mario when they were babies, and so
Right.
is she okay with the repeat costume, or is she
It's
bummed?
funny. I mean, she's into it because Jack's so into it. And I do think it's hilarious that his first Halloween costume ever was Mario, and now here we are, full circle 5 years later. So yeah, I think he's going to be some version of Mario. I found this local comic book store near my house had a Tanuki Mario hat.
Oh,
It's the Mario hat with the Emic, full on like branded Nintendo Mario hat. With
the
little
ears.
Yeah. So he's got
that's
that.
that's technically Raccoon Mario. Tanuki Mario has the full Tanuki suit.
Is that a distinction? I guess it is. I guess you're not.
Yeah,
Tanuki unless you have
Raccoon Mario is just ears and tail, and then Tanuki Mario is full Tanuki costume.
Look at me,
because that's the one
schooled.
where he can turn into the invincible statue.
Oh, I thought any raccoon
Oh my god!
bits
Oh my
was
god,
Tanuki.
Dad, you're so uncool. And here's what's weird. Here's what's weird about you, Dad, is you like video games and you're a video game reviewer. And the moment you became a dad, you forgot the difference between Tanuki Mario and Raccoon Mario.
What happened to me?
What
It's
happened to you, dude?
Once your kid is into a thing, it leaches that information out of your brain and into your child's brain so that you are clueless about it instantly.
No, the Tanuki suit, he looks like a full animal with gloves.
Right. Well, that's not happening.
That's not happening. Jack can be Raccoon Mario.
Yes. You won't know the difference.
Halloween is about the children until it becomes a pain in the ass. And then it's about the adults. I have so many fucking... This is the season where they have the 10-pound bags of...
Candy?
Of Kit Kat and Reese's Pumpkin Peanut Butter Cup.
Yeah.
And so, oh boy, the amount, it looks like a Kit Kat factory exploded in here.
That's amazing. Is Kit Kat your jam? Because I feel like if I'm going to get the multi-pack, there has to be Heath Bar in there at some point.
Here's the thing about the multi-pack. The thing about the multi-pack is they know what they're doing.
They put the shit ones in there too.
Yeah, it's 3 good ones, one okay one, and then filler.
And then fucking Whoppers. Nobody wants Whoppers, dude. How is Whoppers still being made? No one wants Whoppers.
I remember that there was I was looking at the fun size bars because I was like, man, there's nothing cooler than being an adult and understanding how little money $10 is in a candy aisle. You know what I mean? And so I was just looking around and I was like, man, I got to get one of these giant bags of candy bars. And I swear to God, the one that has a Heath bar and a Hershey's with almonds and that sort of shit also has I don't know, something that's literally just fucking coconut leave-ins in a bag or some shit. You know what I mean? Just the garbage shit that nobody wants. Yeah, it's just a little sacks of coconut leave-ins. And I'm just I forget what it was, but that's all it said to me was coconut leave-ins and garbage.
Yeah,
it was
Smarties. Who wants Smarties? Exist. They only exist for Halloween. I never see Smarties in the wild until Halloween, and then
not
you're
since the
drowning
fucking
in
Great
Smarties.
Depression. Not since the Great Depression has anybody bought a pack of Smarties.
Smarties look literally like a tab of medicine. That's what they look like, and it's kind of what they taste like.
This is World War II chocolate rationing. You know what I mean? This was This is like your grandparents would be like, well, I went to the grocery store today, but unfortunately, all I had the money for was we could either get salad or we could get good candy, and so I just got the candy that's just, I don't know. Smarties are like the sugar powder from the candy floor, just like scooped up.
Yeah.
And pressed together.
It's pressed coconut leavings.
Every time you eat a Smartie, you're supposed to remember that you're doing your part for our boys overseas.
So
you know,
true.
like it's not.
But have you ever seen Smarties for sale that wasn't during Halloween? They only emerged during Halloween,
and only in a variety pack.
Exactly. It's literally the filler shit. I think you may be onto something with the fact that like they were making other candy. And then there's some stuff that's spilled, and they're like, "We can just press this shit together." And
they put it in
tab.
with they put one expensive high ticket candy in there, and then they put it's just the same thing as a fruit salad. You buy a fruit salad, and you're like, "Oh, cool! It's fucking cantaloupe. It's cantaloupe all the way down." Yeah, love that
there's
for me.
Some fucking honeydew in there. They screw you.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh, whoops! It's all green melon. They hit it underneath. It's just filler melon, and it's just like, man,
yeah, I don't want that. No one wants
I can't
that.
deal with. So the only, and it's a little more expensive because they know this is a quality bag.
Yeah,
but the Kit Kat / Reese's peanut butter cup bag, that's a premium bag, dude. There's no waste in that bag.
That's a nice
I'm
bag.
always in the mood for one of those too.
Yeah. There's just not as much variety. But I guess that's what the trade-off is. There's no downside variety. There's no whammies in there.
But here's the thing. It's the variety is a trap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If there's one thing we've learned about life, it's the variety is a trap.
The variety is a trap. You think you want more variety than you do. I went in there and I was looking for those bags of 5 different candy bars.
Yeah.
I didn't want 5 different candy bars, my guy. Yeah. I wanted 5 good candy bars. Right. And listen, are there 5 good candy bars? Let's really think about this. Are there 5 good candy bars that you would consider quality candy bars that you would want all the time? Or most of the time?
I mean, here's my list.
Yeah.
Keith Bar,
yes.
Milky Way. Mm. I like me a Mounds or an Almond Joy. I really do.
I only like the Almond Joy.
I only like the Mounds, really. I like the coconut leave-ins in the dark. I like that. I'll eat a Three Musketeers. I'm never going to buy a Three Musketeers. I'm never going to intentionally buy a Three Musketeers. I'll eat a Three Musketeers.
I feel like nougat is what they use to instantly repair holes in like rally car tires.
Yeah.
I feel like nougat isn't real.
Yeah, NASCAR. The N in NASCAR stands for nougat.
Nougat. It's the nougat American stock car. I think for me, it's like, I don't know that I can name 5. Was that 5 for you?
No, that wasn't 5. I mean, I love a Charleston chew. You never see those in the variety packs.
No, because if I was going to put a Charleston chew in a variety pack, I would put it with Smarties and Good and Plenty. I feel like that's Depression era candy.
I like Good and Plenty. I'll buy just a pack of Good and Plenty. I love Good and Plenty, but we don't need to go down that road. What's your stance on Butterfinger?
Love a Butterfinger, but too much Butterfinger can be a lot of Butterfinger.
A mini Butterfinger, one single mini Butterfinger, and I'm fine for the year.
I can't imagine anybody buying a full-size Butterfinger bar.
Me neither. I don't understand. Evidently, they sell like hotcakes, enough to get that prized Simpsons license.
It's after a couple bites, you get that Butterfinger aftertaste and coating in your mouth. Yeah. It's a very rich candy bar.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to do 5, if I was going to try, like, it would be like a Hershey's with almonds is a good one to go. Like I like a chocolate almond mix.
It's too much just chocolate for me.
I wish they did the dark chocolate with almonds in the variety packs.
Yeah.
But dark chocolate with almonds would be the one. I like a caramello, but those aren't fun size. You can't fun size those in a good way. Good. Fuck, man. I really can't like a crunch or a crackle.
I do like a crunch or a crackle. I do like those are always a delight to see in the variety pack. I do like a crunch and a crackle. I'll reach for those. If you see a bowl of the variety pack at a place, I'll reach for that crackle right away.
Dude, the crackle is so quality, and nobody knows because they only sell the crunch throughout the year. But crackle's the good one because the chocolate's darker.
Crackle has more of the Rice Krispies per square inch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's crunchier, and they use darker chocolate. And Crackle is a premium bar for a discerning adult. That's what I'll say. But I don't think I can name 5 candy bars that I want. Obviously, I want a Kit Kat if we're counting a Kit Kat.
Yeah, Kit Kat is always solid. Is always great.
But for me, it's like I'm not always like. For me, the best mix bag.
We forgot Twix.
Oh, love a Twix.
I love a Twix.
Oh, a Twix is great.
Yeah, and
actually,
those are in variety
Twix
packs
is phenomenal.
too. Those are a hallmark of the variety pack.
Yeah, and a Twix and a Heath. I just want something that has different textures because too much American candy is all about like here's your MRE sugar lump that will keep you alive. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me. It's like, hurry, eat this so you don't go into shock.
Yeah.
So I like something like, if you put nuts or rice or something into it and then it has like a dark chocolate, it has texture and it has the feeling of real food items.
Yeah. Fool me into thinking I'm eating food.
Food me into the, yeah, there's a small amount of food in there.
Yeah.
I'm not just a
sugar right now.
Yeah, I'm not just Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black. Sugar water. Just like, I'm not fucking Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. I'm actually eating something.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. But
I want my candy to lie to me. That's what I want.
Listen, obviously I'm a fucking immature person. All I want is to go and buy candy and eat candy all day. But if I'm going to do that, at least let's acknowledge the fact that I have a slightly more discerning palate than a 4-year-old. That's all I'm saying.
That's all we want.
That's all I'm saying is for everybody to recognize that I'm slightly more discerning than a 4-year-old. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Oh, we got a doozy to start off the episode this week, Anthony.
Doozy?
A real doozy.
Would you call it a humdinger, sir?
I might. You know what I would call it? I would call it perhaps the quintessential We Have Concerns story.
We're shutting it down.
This is Z Mansfield, Z Synergy Mansfield, knowing us, just a solid performer on the story submissions. Always bringing the heat, always bringing the good stories. We dip back into Z Mansfield frequently, but I think this week Synergy has outdone themselves. We got a story that I think you're going to love, and it's for the season. We're recording here still in Spooktober, Shocktober, one might even say. This is a story.
Are we going with the Shocktober branding? Is that what we back here at We Have Concerns?
I think Shocktober.
Like Shocktober. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
All right, happy Shocktober, everybody.
Yeah. This is a story from one of our favorite sites, Atlas Obscura. It's a story about corpse medicine. That's right. Corpse medicine.
No, you don't need to put too much research into that, I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum or denigrate anybody's chosen profession, but here's what I'm going to say. They don't need it.
They're not going to appreciate it.
The corpses don't need it.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what's even worse? They never pay their bills.
That's the thing.
You know what? You're going to, even if you charge them a discounted rate for the medicine, they don't ever pay.
No, listen, you're just going to get whoever's your next of kin is just going to get a lot of robocalls if you give it about the unpaid corpse medicine bills.
Exactly.
You don't need that.
You don't need that. No, this is a story about a book that I am now very interested in checking out. A book by Lydia Kang. She's the co-author of a book called Quackery, A Brief History of the Worst Ways to Cure Everything. And this is...
And it's just a list of everything we do in America right now.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Whoops.
This particular story on Atlas Obscura talks about the, 200 years or so, where all around the world, doctors prescribed cannibalism, basically, as a way to heal you.
Yes. Add another human's power to your own.
Exactly.
Listen to me very carefully. I now believe in corpse medicine. I was against corpse medicine, but I was misunderstanding. Here's the thing. I get it now, and I love it.
I knew you would. I knew you would. I mean, this is what we've been talking about. We've been talking about the gentlemen scientists. We've been talking about self-experimentation. We've been talking about how science is a feeling more than anything else. We've been talking about that for almost 700 episodes. And here we are at a story that combines all of those things into a perfectly understandable pastiche.
And that's why it's our last episode. Hey, would you eat human flesh?
No.
No, not under any circumstance.
I do not believe under any circumstances I could stomach it. No.
Not under any circumstances. What if it was like a little piece? What if it was like a little piece of your own flesh? And somebody cooked it up. And somebody cooked it up real nice.
Oh, you mean like a real like hunk of fat? I thought you meant. I mean, I've bitten off a piece of my skin and swallowed it. Of course, like everybody's done that. You know,
no, that's not enough. That's not enough.
I mean, like a hunk of flesh.
It would have to be roughly equivalent to. I think to say that you were eating human flesh, I think it would have to be roughly equivalent to one good bite of steak.
No, I don't think I could do it. I think I would retch. I don't think I could get it down my throat with the full knowledge. I mean, if you cooked it up and in retrospect told me it was human flesh, and then we're like, well, what did you think of that?
But that's tricking you, though. That's not what
just
I'm
tricking me. I don't think knowingly, I don't think I could get it down. What about you?
I think I could, depending on the situation. I think if it was a situation where, this is the thing. I would have to know.
Like a saw situation where this is the only way to get yourself out of the room.
Well, I mean, in that situation, I'd do it. Listen, I've said this before. You and I are very good friends. And if we were ever trapped in a saw situation, I'm getting the key out of your stomach.
Well,
I'm getting the key out of your stomach. And listen.
You're a stand-up guy.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out. I'm going to get the key out of your stomach. And listen, I will look your loving wife right in the eye. And I care about her. I think she's wonderful. I think she's the better of the two of you.
Yeah. Oh,
and here's the thing. I would look her right in the eye and I'd be like, yeah, he's dead. I did what I had to do.
I'm here.
It was a saw situation. And
she would understand.
Yeah. I would present her with my original inbox Super Mario World cartridge, and I would say, this is for your son.
Oh,
I would say, this is for your son. And so I think that's a win-win for everybody.
and then in horror, you would look as my son tore open that box in front of your very eyes.
It's okay. I have my suspicions that I got sold a reproduction cartridge anyway.
Oh,
so
no.
Really, it's a win-win-win-win-win.
Well, this story is fascinating to me. This is not just about eating human flesh. It gets even creepier than that.
Can I say though, before we walk away from this, I want to give my final answer here.
Oh, please.
I want to give my final answer of, if it was given to me, if it was either my own flesh or it was given to me by, like, if it was donated for this dinner by somebody, I think I could do it.
If somebody stood up in the back and was like, "That's my flesh. It's all good. Thumbs up for me. Enjoy eating it."
Yeah. If I knew, if the person, if it was like this person gave this lump of their flesh for this dinner, and I would give one of mine in return. If that was the situation,
that's what it takes. Is it's a body swap.
I mean, if that was the situation, if there was somebody else who was interested in eating human flesh, a bite of human flesh, and it was too weird to eat your own, I would gladly swap with somebody else. I don't know if I could have that. I don't know if it would be cooler or less cool to have that person like sitting across the table from me.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
My brain goes back and forth on it. Sometimes I think I would like it to be like a Hannibal with consent situation.
Yeah.
Where like I can look that person in the eye as I'm like having a piece of their flesh and they're like cool with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think that's too weird, and I would need this sort of the same way I can't have a cow out the window if I'm eating a hamburger. I can't have that person looking. I need a little bit.
Let me give you this hypothetical. What if you're sitting there and you both, you're about to chow down on them and they're about to chow down on you. You're the first to take a bite. You take a bite and you're like, wow. I'm as surprised as anybody, but this tastes delicious. And
what if it's like the best thing I've ever had?
Yeah. You're like, oh my God, this is good. And then they take a bite and they're like, oh my God, you're disgusting. Oh, and you have already expressed that you think they're delicious, but they think you are disgusting.
Oh, I don't take that personally.
You wouldn't take that personally?
No.
Would you then have to try yourself to see how you compare to them?
Well, if they're not going to finish it.
Well, maybe I misled you by saying cannibalism because this gets even creepier. We're not even talking about flesh here, my friend. We're not talking about flesh. We're talking about, this article starts talking about Charles II, who had suffered a stroke in 1685. And his physician, a chemist named Jonathan Goddard, was actually, he worked for Oliver Cromwell.
Mm-hmm.
And he was known for this secret formula that he called Goddard's drops. He claimed it was his own invention.
Mm-hmm.
And he claimed it was a miracle cure for all manner of ailments. And what he would do is it was distilled from a number of different compounds, but the crucial ingredient was a powder consisting of 5 pounds of crushed human skulls. But not just any crushed human skulls, Anthony. You can't just get the skulls of old people because that doesn't have any curative properties, because old people, as we know, don't have any life force left in them.
No, they're too close to death.
All of their humors have leaked out.
Mm-hmm.
So what they needed was a skull from someone who died a violent death at a young, healthy age.
Whoa, I love this. Wow, the things look, if you don't know anything about fucking science, some of this stuff that we believed was great because it makes sense. Like, you got to eat the heart of a warrior. You can't just eat anybody's heart.
Right. Yeah.
You gotta
why
have
would
the
you
skull.
waste your time on the heart of a coward? You know what I'm saying?
No. What are you gonna get a coward heart? No, you're just gonna eat a bunch of cowardice, and then you've got cowardice in your humors.
You don't want that.
No. So you need a warrior's skull.
Yeah.
And you need 5 pounds
skull.
of it.
So check this out. By the time Charles II died, he was consuming 40 drops of Goddard's tincture every day. 40 drops of human skull juice.
That's too much skull juice. That's too much skull juice. That's like, I don't know how much skull juice you're supposed to have. Like, I don't know what Goddard's like recommended daily dosage was, but what the RDA of fucking skull juice is. But like, that's a guy who's on too much skull juice because you can't farm that much skull juice.
Well, that's where this story goes. By the way, you'll be shocked to learn it did not help Charles II's condition at all, which
seems
also
weird.
did not deter Goddard from selling this to a whole bunch of other people.
That's the thing. We need a larger sample size though. Like, it didn't like it didn't help Charles II, but like that's a sample size of 1.
Yeah. Well,
we need more people on more skull juice.
Well, there is a woman who wrote about her experience with Goddard's drops. Anne Dormer wrote about it in 1686. She evidently said that she would have a little bit of skull juice every day. And she said, I take the king's drops and drink chocolate, she wrote. And when my soul is sad to death, I run and play with my children. So there you go. That's the prescription. Take 2 and call me in the morning, I guess.
Well, wait a minute. So it's skull juice and chocolate, but what's really helping is playing with her children.
Yeah.
But we're definitely giving a lot of credit to the skull juice and chocolate here.
I guess
she says it like the second half of her sentence invalidates the first half. She's like, I use skull juice and chocolate unless I feel really bad. When I feel really bad, I play with my children. There's a lot to unpack in this sentence because number one, if playing with your children helps when you're at your worst, why would you need the skull juice when you don't feel as good? Why wouldn't you go straight to being with your children? Does this woman just hate her children? Which is also fair.
That's fair. I certainly relate to that feeling sometimes. But I also, my interpretation of it was, I think your interpretation is probably more accurate. But my interpretation when I first read it was, I take the drops and drink the chocolate. And then I feel bad.
You put the lime in the coconut.
Yeah. But then I feel that my soul is sad about the fact that I drank other humans. And then I go play with my children to remind myself that I have created new life, perhaps.
I feel physically bad.
Yeah.
All right. So I take this stuff. It makes me feel physically better, but I'm worried about these skulls.
Yes. My soul is sad to death. She
about
says,
the
my
skulls.
Soul. Yeah. So I run and play with my children.
Wait until she finds out how we got chocolate back in the day.
Yeah.
I wonder which one was more inhumane.
Oof. Dude, this story goes even crazier, dude. So there became such a demand for dead young people skulls because of this stuff that people would go to Ireland where there was a lot of war.
Yeah.
And
the Irish aren't people.
Right.
We know how England traditionally feels about that.
So in England, there was this huge trade in human skulls, and people would go to executioner blocks to get freshly killed young people, and they would trade Egyptian mummies that had been recovered. And
oh my God, England!
Yeah. And then Ireland, because there were so many people who died on the battlefield. There were a bunch of skulls lying around, and Sir Francis Bacon actually wrote one time that there were heaps of slain bodies lying unburied over in Ireland, and people would loot these moss-covered skulls because they believed that the moss growing on human skulls had regenerative properties, that the moss itself was a big part of medicine, moss that grew on human skulls.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense.
So little young entrepreneurs would go over to battlefields. You know, the fight was over. The battle was won by one side or the other. And they just harvest skulls that had moss growing on them for sale in England.
Wow.
So all of this started from one dude. And honestly, one of the reasons I love this story is because, we're living in an age of information. And yet here we are still, there is this trade in miracle cures or undiscovered things that can help with the global athlete's foot that we're all dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
People tell you to have this thing or that thing. Don't believe the mainstream media. The real thing you need to ingest. People are putting stuff in their bodies that I certainly wouldn't put in my body. And it mirrors to this literally just one dude. His name is Theophrastus von Hohenheim.
That's definitely the name of this dude.
Theophrastus von Hohenheim.
I already know the story of this dude. That's some Dickensian character naming. I love this.
It's brilliant. He's a 16th century Swiss alchemist, physician, philosopher, basically this polymath.
Can I tell you, I wish that we lived in a time where we could call ourselves alchemists and make a fucking living off of it.
I know, right?
Where we could just be dunking one thing and another thing and be like, eventually, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
You got to keep me on the payroll, because when I figure out how to make this, when I figure out how to dunk this into this and it becomes gold,
yeah,
you're going to feel real stupid. You're going to feel real stupid, buddy. So you better keep paying me every week.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually,
that's a racket, baby.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And I mean, it's not far off from what people do now, man. The more you try to disprove me, the more right I am, because it just shows you how much everyone's trying to cover up the truth.
God, I love
von Hohenheim.
I wish I was less ethical than I am.
There's not much room to go less.
I know, but I feel like I'm just the hair's breadth that I have left is the difference between ill-gotten gains and living in poverty. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like right now, I'm fine. But like if I could just give up just a few more morals, the few that I'm hanging on to,
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be fucking rolling in dough, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be swimming in it Scrooge style.
Well, that's how you know people are swimming in it Scrooge style, is they've given up all morality. That's
I could repent.
capitalism,
I could
baby.
repent later on in life, like Scrooge does.
Yeah, on your deathbed.
My three nephews could come and reinvigorate my love for life and for adventure. But I could learn something about myself.
No, that's what deathbeds are for. To repent.
I don't know. I'd like a little bit of goodness before the deathbed just to hedge my bets.
Oh, all right. Well, that's why you haven't hit bottom yet, Anthony. All right, so let me tell you about this von Hohenheim
tell me
character.
about it. I'm gonna ponder this.
He invented something called Galenism, which evidently dominated European medical circles in the 16th and 17th centuries. Basically, Galenism, the fundamental precept of Galenism is that the body consists of different humors, blood, phlegm, and black and yellow bile. And the key to health is keeping them all in balance. And basically what he said was, if you've got a problem in one part of your body, get a healthy person's part of that body and ingest it.
Of course.
Ingest it.
Yes.
He says, like cures like. That's the entire philosophy of Galenism. Like cures like. So, do you have a
Occam's
headache?
razor, baby.
Do you have a headache? Get you some healthy person skull moss. Drink that, and your headache will go away.
Yes.
What's the problem?
How did this not stay caught on? This makes perfect sense.
Yeah, right. If it's not working, get the one that's working and put it in there.
Buddy, if your carburetor's failing, what do? You put a new carburetor in.
Yeah. You find a working one, and you put that in. I don't see the problem here.
You smear placenta on your face, and then you have young skin. We are still doing this. This is great.
Yeah.
This is great. We never got rid of this. This is perfect.
Never got rid of it. So this actually it caught on in such a big way, it spread all the way to New England in the Americas. There's a recipe that was written up in a book called The Art of Distillation, 1651. English physician John French wrote up the following recipe, which he touted as a cure for epilepsy. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Take the brains of a young man that has died a violent death, together with the membranes, arteries, and veins, and bruise them in a stone mortar until they become a kind of pap. A kind of pap. This is you can't make up this shit. It's so beautiful.
We got to bring the word pap back. That's nothing but a load of pap.
Yeah. Bruise the young man's brains and membranes and arteries in a stone mortar until they become a kind of pap. I mean, the imagery is beautiful. Okay, then put as much of the spirit of wine as will cover it. For flavor, really. Just got to put some wine in that shit.
Yeah.
Then, this is the part. It's just like the chef's kiss at the end. Then, digest it half a year in horse dung.
Dude.
That's the recipe.
Here's the thing. Do you believe that the person that created this, von Hohenheim or whatever, do you believe that von Hohenheim actually thought this was real, or was it a hoax? And if it was a hoax, why would you put the 6 months into it? Was it to give it an air of validity, like, oh, it takes time, this is a real thing, it's a real
give you
process.
A running start and to get out of town?
Yeah, well, like, because that makes it sound like it's, if you told me like it takes 6 months to make this compound, I'd be like, of course it's complex. The thing that's afflicting me is complex.
Right.
Like, this is worth the money because it's rare and it takes this person time. If I was doing it, I would say 6 days, 6 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, you got to think about supply and demand for this.
Yeah.
Do you think, so what I'm asking is, do you think he really believed this?
Man, that's the question. I mean, I think I'm inclined to believe these folks were, drinking their own Kool-Aid, so to speak, drinking their own, brain moss. I'm inclined to believe they genuinely believed it only because, well, I don't know. It's the kind of thing where you could sort of, especially now in the information age, as we see how big lies spread faster than small lies. You could totally see the kind of thing where somebody says this for the first time to sort of, console somebody or sell a thing. And it just catches on because people are inclined to believe this crazy nonsense. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I do think that if you are somebody who has dedicated your life to this, and we've seen this before, and this is why studies have to be peer reviewed now, right? Is if you are inclined to believe the thing that you are studying, right? If you want it to be true, if you're trying to find a cure for something, you are more likely to believe that you have, right? Because you put your work into it. Otherwise, it's sunk costs, right?
Right.
So I could see somebody who was an alchemist or something back then who really did want this to be true, who then, since you're the only person taking down the data and looking at it, you're like, his tremors seem a little better today.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm noticing that there are more good days than bad, or today was a bad day, but maybe it's an outlier, you know?
Well, there's some speculation in this article that, you get a combination of the placebo effect, which is when you get somebody to do something as extreme as this, they're more inclined to will it into, only perceive the positive effects of it. So you get some placebo effect, but also there's some speculation that all of the mixing of wine and chocolate give people just a sort of an immediate sense of feeling better. So you get these people that ingest that, they're like, oh, yeah, I do feel a little better. It's because you're fucking drunk on all the wine that was swirling around in the horse dung and human brains.
And you got to think about how rarely, back then people were able to have treats.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we can't set that aside either. Treats are expensive.
Right.
They're not for the poors. So like if you're having treats regularly and you're not used to having a high sugar, high fat intake, right? Because there's a certain amount of scarcity in your diet usually. Yeah. Of course it's going to make you feel better. I eat a Kit Kat and I feel better.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's one of the things that's so amazing to me about this article is there's literally a portrait in this article from the time period of a physician. It is not von Hohenheim. It's somebody else. It's this John Tradescant fella. But the portrait is of him.
What is with these Dickensian ass names?
I know, right? It's so great. It's so great.
Tradescant.
Yeah, Tradescant. John Tradescant. It's this painted portrait meant to convey his knowledge and acumen as a physician and botanist. And he is, in his full formal robes, physician robes, and he's posed next to a table upon which is one item, and that item is a skull with moss growing on it. Like that.
Have I seen this portrait? I feel like I've seen this portrait.
I'll send you the link. It's pretty great.
I feel like I have.
To me, it's crazy that that's his way of showing that he is knowledgeable in the field. I want to be immortalized forever in this painted portrait that I'm sure was A, expensive, and B, time consuming to create. The one item I want to be pictured next to show just my status in the professional world is the moss covered skull.
I love this.
Right?
Yeah. So if he didn't believe it, he was willing to back it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So literally it created this complete black market, underground market of young people's skulls that people would pluck from executioners and from the battlefields, sell them in Europe so that people could, it's it's got a lot of parallels to what's going on now with people buying, like making a run on these crazy cures that weren't intended for this thing, but people are willing to put it in their bodies. It's
I think it's fascinating. And look, I think it's tricky because there are new things and cutting edge therapies and things like that happen all the time, right?
Yeah.
And this is the trick. The trick is, if somebody is studying, I mean, this is something that you actually deal with in your regularly in your life right now, right? And you are dealing with something where there are new and cutting edge therapies all the time for something that you're dealing with in your family.
Right.
And so you have to weigh, and you have to look at the evidence, and you have to weigh a cost benefit thing about new medical procedures and new medicines and things like that all the time. So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong about wanting to try something that's cutting edge, right? Like that's natural. That's a natural part of just wanting to get better. It's a natural part of the human condition, right? We have heard that this works okay. There's this new thing that might work better.
Yeah.
I think the problem comes in when you are being told, don't use the old proven stuff while you're also trying the new stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like, hey man, don't take the horse medicine instead of the fucking vaccine. Take the vaccine. And then if you want to try horse medicine, I guess try horse medicine.
Yeah.
But like
safely and with the supervision of a doctor. Although
safely with the supervision of a horse.
These are all doctors administering these crazy. I mean, this is not.
But this is also
like 200 years of this practice. 200 years. Well, people were. We
was also dumb, my guy.
I know.
Like, that's the thing is, like, you got to remember, these weren't crackpots. These, like, I'm asking if I thought that if they believed, but like, these were visionaries in their field. These were cutting edge people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is different than the person from high school that somehow finds you in your email that you haven't heard from 20 years that wants to sell you homeopathic drops for some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like a dude who proved himself in the medical field who was like, I think it's probably the moss from skulls. And everybody's like, dude, he's the smartest guy we got. If he says it's skull moss, it's fucking skull moss.
Yeah. Yeah. This evidently there were sales of human skulls, documented records of skull sales as late as 1778. That's not
the Hollywood movie that we're making based on this, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because that's what people really want to know.
Yeah.
Because they really want to know what the $1 billion story is here. The story is about a poor youth in the slums of some part of England. I don't know anything about England, and I'm not going to do any research before we write this script. I'm going to assume that, I don't know, it's this Shakespeare or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's some young kid from the slums who just starts murdering people and selling their skulls, and works his way up through British society by murdering people and selling their skulls.
Yeah.
And eventually it catches up to him, right?
Yeah.
That's the story. And it's a critique on classism. And it's also dope because of all the murder. Because of all the murder and skull.
Was a doctor.
He was a skull doctor.
Yeah.
It's like From Hell, but watchable. It's like From Hell, but you don't need to take 7 breaks. Think about it.
It's good.
I love this. I mean, what is your obviously your takeaway from this is that we're still doing this today, and some people are taking advantage of it, right?
Yeah, and I think it just shows. I don't want to use the word gullible. It shows, I think, our desire to find a miracle cure. This article goes into the fact that basically the Age of Enlightenment is when all of this ended, and people started actually using the scientific method. Mm-hmm. And I think the danger in talking about stuff like this is like, well, the experts don't know anything. And it's like, well, at a certain point, the experts started to use a methodology that allowed them to sort of focus in on the...
We're saying the experts 400 years ago didn't know anything because we've learned a lot.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah. There was a period in which, which human beings decided to go, wait a minute. Let's try to isolate.
Hold on just a second.
Let's try to isolate the variables here and see if we can actually figure out if skull moss helps. And people went, you know what? It doesn't do shit. It actually makes my tummy hurts.
I don't know. I still think if you told me that you could safely and ethically fry up a human heart, I'd give it a shot. And maybe I'd feel better, but maybe I went to heart and you were like, whoa, have we already gone to heart?
Yeah, that was fast. That was a quick turn.
I've had like 20 minutes to think about it.
What I actually thought was, you've come a long way from vegetarian, my friend, from vegan.
But, here's the thing. Even when I was vegetarian, my rule was always like, if I'm traveling somewhere, if I'm somewhere foreign and they have a thing that is their thing,
like human heart,
I will try it.
Yeah.
Because part of the reason I was vegetarian was the American system of getting food.
Yeah. Heartless.
But anyway,
is what you would say. American system is heartless.
The system is heartless, and that's why we need to eat more hearts. If the people in charge, if we can get billionaires to eat more hearts, you'd think that we should be getting billionaires to eat fewer hearts.
Yeah,
but the thing is, they're only figuratively feeding off of our life force.
Well, that's
if
because
we would just let the billionaires eat our own flesh directly.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
I think
the
only way out
right?
is through. Churchill said that, Jeff. We got to let this go all the way.
It's Galenism, and it's like cures like. And so the problem with the billionaires is they don't have a heart, So we got to let them eat.
So we have to kill the nicest people we can find and feed their hearts to billionaires.
It's the only way.
That's the scientific method. And if you want to talk more about the scientific method, if you want to see more stories that people are submitting, chat about science or 100 million other things, a great place to do so is our Discord.
That's right. The Discord has a number of channels. You can submit stories there. That's an awesome way to use the Discord, but that's not the only way to use the Discord. Why not get a little motivation in your own life? We got folks that are motivating each other, trying to encourage healthier living, healthier lifestyles. We got talking about video games. We got places to hang out and talk about your favorite pet. It's a wonderful community of folks.
We got a bird pranks channel. Bird pranks is a joke on this show, but it's also real, is what we found out once we created that channel.
It's so real.
It's so like birds are fucked up. And honestly, I would join the Discord just to be sure that you're not getting fucked with by a bird. You can do so by heading to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Access to the Discord starts at donating just $1 a month, and it's the only way.
$1 a month to know if you're being fucked with by a bird. I call that a bargain.
That's huge. That's huge. It could save your life. Just like a human skull. So for $1 a month, you get access to the Discord, but there's so much other stuff that you can get. And remember, this is the only way that we support the show. Yeah. And the show goes a long way towards supporting us. And so we greatly appreciate any support that you can give. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. I got a story on the Discord from La Vida Loca himself, Jay Martin.
Love it.
And this is something that I found particularly interesting. It's study into playing Tetris and how it can get rid of trauma from a car crash.
I saw this headline and I was so curious. Tell me more. I think this is amazing. So this is a very fascinating story. If you were alive, if you were somebody who was here during Tetris fever, when Tetris took over the fucking world. Well, Anthony, we're in a full-on Tetrisance right now. We got Tetris 99. We got the Tetris effect. There's it's a Tetrisance.
Well, and this is something that's very interesting, Jeff. I think we've mentioned this on the show before, but the title of the Tetris effect, the video game, the Tetris effect, is based on a study that went colloquially by the same title, which was about what was going on during this first Tetrisance, which we had in the 80s.
Yeah.
Which is people were playing so much Tetris that they were seeing Tetris blocks in the world. And their brains. That. Yeah. And you would look at things and you would see, like if you looked at 3 buildings, you would see not the negative space between the buildings, but a place for a tetromino to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your brain, people were playing so much Tetris that we were actually wired to see Tetris in our daily lives. And years later, Jonathan Blow would make the game The Witness, which is about that, which is about seeing puzzles in the world
Everywhere.
around you.
Yeah.
And that comes from the Tetris effect. And so there was some study done on it back in the 80s. That was what this paper was about. And it was the same thing for other video games. Doom famously had the same effect. People were playing Doom so much that people on college campuses were afraid to walk around at night because they were seeing like cacodemons and things like that.
I remember when I was playing the original Grand Theft Auto 3 and its debut in whatever 90 whatever that was.
1873.
I was playing Grand Theft Auto 3 so much that I kept seeing ramps to jump off as I was driving around. Everywhere I would see is a ramp, like, oh, I could jump that.
Yeah, I could ramp off of that real easy.
Yeah.
But with the Tetris effect, you can actually, it's almost like the ghosts when you like stare into a light and then look away and you can see like the shapes. People would actually kind of see these Tetris shapes etched into the world briefly. Like, it wasn't a hallucination, but it was just your brain like just compartmentalizing everything into this thing that you were doing so much. Right. So there has been a group of researchers in the UK and Sweden that have been studying like how much something like Tetris can sort of take over the main functionality of our mind and how it can actually change our mind. And this can be Tetris. This can be sort of any game that takes over your mind and gets you into a state of flow in the same way. Because there's this thing that's been around forever. This theory since Roman times. Seneca called it tranquilitas. Right? It's this peace of mind. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, researchers who have been trying to figure out trauma have been trying to figure out how to give people peace of mind, right? What can we do? And there are a series of therapies that have gone on throughout history to do this. Some of them were about drawing out the memories of trauma, right? Like hypnosis has been around for like 100 years. And it's like, you're having a hard time remembering these traumas. So we're going to bring them forward so you can deal with them. And we have since learned that that's not great all the time. And you should not necessarily do that.
Yeah.
But there was treatment that started in the 90s that it was about, that had a piece of this to it. This whole thing of like recalling traumatic events, right? There's this thing called EMDR. EMDR is like, hey, we want you to recall this event, but move your eyes from side to side or be doing something that is engaging your mind and distracting you partially while you're remembering this traumatic event. So perhaps I would ask you to remember a traumatic event that you were going through while just kind of doing rapid eye movements, or maybe I would ask you to follow a light while you're doing it, or I would have you put together a puzzle, not a hard puzzle, but a simple puzzle so you could be constantly making progress, almost like one of those peg toys you give to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solve this simple puzzle while you're telling me what happened during the accident, right?
Okay.
So you're taking a little bit of your brain's processing away from the trauma. And that's something that people have been using for PTSD since the 80s. And in the 90s, they were like, hey, maybe it's the, maybe it's not the eye movements. Maybe it's the way that we're bringing it back. Maybe it's this. And so people have been just like, how do we do this? How do we get people into the correct state to deal with trauma? And then somebody suggested, hey, what if it's not about doing things during the recollection of trauma? We know that a traumatic memories from a traumatic event, take about a month to solidify in your mind. We can see it. We can see it on brain scans, the change in your mind after the first month of a traumatic event. What if it's not about the recollection of these memories? What if it's about interrupting the formation of these memories? What if it's about making sure that these memories can't take hold of so much of your mind, right? What if it's something about making sure that these memories are not so vivid in a sensory way?
So is it like adding noise or distraction to the brain so that while the brain thinks that it needs to be imprinting this trauma, it has some other activity that takes away that effort?
That's exactly right. That's what this team is thinking.
Wow.
So they did research on 71 different people. Look, 71 sounds like a small number, but remember that all of these people had to have been through a car crash in the last few days.
Oof.
Right?
Yeah.
So they did this over time, staggered with 71 different people.
Rough recruiter job.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Yeah.
That's not easy.
Tough phone call.
Yeah, it's just like, you do not want to find somebody crying on the side of the road and be like, here's my card.
Yeah.
Give me a call.
Cruising hospitals. Oof.
So they had to find these people within 6 hours of being in a car accident, right?
Wow.
And so basically what they did was they went and they found people who didn't have like intense injuries. They found people who, I've been in a car accident, but I'm not injured badly enough to be brought in immediately. I'm in the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
We know you're in pain. We're going to get to you, but like, this is an ER, So, they went to this John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford near the university, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to recall your trauma and recount the worst moments that spring to mind. If you're willing to do that." They were also paid,
Yeah.
And then they were randomized to either play Tetris for 20 minutes or to fill out an activity log of what had happened since they were admitted to the hospital. Those were the two groups.
Okay,
right?
So the activity log is like the control group of not playing Tetris, but doing something that focuses on the experience post-trauma.
Yes. Live in your moment here post-trauma. Tell us what happened in the hospital. Or, and they're not asking you to, play some Tetris.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
That's it? 20 minutes of
20
Tetris?
minutes of Tetris.
All right.
The people who played Tetris for just 20 minutes were found to have had 62% fewer intrusive memories in the first week after their accident than the control group.
Wow.
Also, their bad memories diminished more quickly than the control group. So think about that. This is that first week after the accident when your brain goes, and just remembers being in the accident. They had that 62% less.
So it's because Tetris requires focus, right?
That's what they think.
Likely be you could do a crossword puzzle, you could do whatever, as long as you're focused and forcing your brain into this flow state.
Mm-hmm. So, they think Emily Holmes, who's one of the psychology professors who's the leader of this, she was like, so we think that playing Tetris actually interferes with memory consolidation, right? So that's the conversion of short-term memories into permanent ones.
Wow.
So they think that there is a window following a trauma where a bad memory can be sort of defused and sort of uncoupled from your emotional center, right? Because that's the real thing that's causing you to have these like vivid flashbacks.
Yeah.
It's not recalled like, here is a logical thing that happened to me. It's connected heavily with your nervous system and your physiology and your emotions.
Right.
This memory, and if they can diffuse that connection a little bit, it helps. And playing Tetris, and she says it's not, it's probably not just Tetris. It's like you're saying.
I was going to say. Do they think that there's something unique about Tetris, or is it just anything that is sort of consuming your focus?
They think it has to be highly visual, like Tetris is.
Yeah.
Right. So a crossword puzzle might not work. They think it has to be highly visual. They think that like the colors and shapes and movements of Tetris do that.
Right.
But also it has to involve like this sort of puzzle solving, logic, problem solving center of your brain as well. So a decent amount of like your executive functioning is focusing on it too. So it's two levels of things happening. And I was thinking about this and I was like, there are so many things like that we go to that we consider maybe like unhealthy activities or unhealthy coping events. Like hey man, instead of doing this, you have a bad day, you immediately run to the video games or you immediately run to this or there might be like obviously there's an avoidance thing that happens, and I don't want to push away the fact that, yeah, we could be avoiding dealing with things when we go to these comfort activities. Yeah. But there could also be something that we're doing that is very helpful during times of trauma that allows us to process these things in a more logical and detached way, as opposed to letting them affect you at a core
interesting
level.
I mean, I think that does seem to be the conclusion to draw here. And it is interesting to me because I think I'm struggling to think of anything like Tetris. It's funny, Christian and I on my video game podcast, DLC, we have this running, it's not really a joke, but this running belief that Tetris is objectively the best video game of all time. Objectively.
It's hard to argue against. Like, you can't argue against it, but there's no point in it. You might as well let somebody have that.
It's like, I think in 200 years, people will still be playing Tetris. Like, it is a pure video game experience. You can't translate to any other medium. And so in that way, I think I'm struggling to come up with any other thing that hits all of the things you would need, because I think it seems to me, intuitively, it seems to me that it needs to be an abstraction like Tetris. Like, it's not, playing a video game that has a narrative or where I'm another person. It feels like it wouldn't have this effect because
that could be, yeah.
It feels like the fact that Tetris is an abstraction, that it is about movement and, like you said, color and shape, that you have to sort of remain focused. It is a combination of puzzle solving and reflexes at the same time. That's like, it's working on all of these levels, but not in a sort of literal narrative sense. It's still an abstraction. It still lets you sort of release any kind of connection to the physical world that you've been in before, right? There's nothing about Tetris that looks like the car crash you were in,
I think about that, and now that you bring that up, I think about the games that I play when I'm kind of like stimming a little bit, and the stuff that I tend to go to, and it is stuff like Tetris is there, but also things like Tempest or Geometry Wars, like these classic arcade games that are very or even Rez, another one by the people that made Tetris Effect. And people are always like, Anthony, you seem to like a very specific type of game. And I'm like, yeah, I like a sensory overload that requires a flow state.
Yeah.
That's what I like. And I think that kind of game may be close. And when I also think about it, I think about something like, if, assuming that you feel well enough after this car crash or this traumatic event, whether it's physically or emotionally traumatic, I think about actual sports. I think about something like playing basketball or something like that. Something that requires, or in Christian's case, like skating, right?
Yeah.
I feel like doing something like that immediately afterwards probably does give you all the sensory stuff and like a physical distraction and a mental distraction.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if there's an element to it of literally like removing yourself from the physical human form. Like Tetris, when you're playing Tetris, you're not thinking about human beings, you're just sort of dealing with these abstracted shapes, these very simple but compelling, this puzzle that you're trying to work out in real time all the time.
Yeah.
It feels like something that requires a lot of focus and a lot of different sides of the brain. You like I said, the sort of kinetic, fast twitch reflex side, but also the cognitive, where does this fit? How do I make the correct shape side?
Yeah. It's amazing. It's fascinating. You're right. Yeah. There are very few, Dr. Holmes says it doesn't necessarily have to be Tetris, but it's not like she gives a lot of alternatives.
Yeah.
She really just says
she's like, Dr. Mario maybe works.
It can't just be maybe God, anything from MSN Zone.
Yeah.
Anything from like an early 2000s gaming portal or a Java-based cellular telephone. Really anything from the Wonder Swan, but not the Wonder Swan color. I just think she just simply says it can't just be like a pub quiz trivia or a crossword.
Right. Yeah.
There's a heavy sensory processing element to it. So it's not like you can just go, well, I just got into a car accident. I'm going to go bake a cake and it'll take my mind off it. No, it's not going to. Like it needs to be something that really gets in there.
That's wild. That is so cool. And I wonder if there are, you know, if this research continues and they can find actual, you know, almost like a prescription of the amount of time, the times of day to play. Like, I wonder if there are ways we could even hone in on the most effective implementation of Tetris, you know?
Oh my gosh. I feel like it wouldn't be Tetris Effect. Maybe it would.
Maybe. I do feel like it feels, you know, I think they were playing it, like on Nintendo DS's?
They were playing the DS one. So it was probably like, it was a more classic Tetris.
Yeah. I feel like that pure, no frills, no extra graphics, just like, you know, in there looking at the shapes, trying to figure it out.
But maybe it's the other way around where it is Tetris Effect, like in a VR helmet, right? And so it's all Tetris all around you, and like there's nothing else.
Into a different place. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and this is something we've seen before. Like, I also think about connecting this to a lot of stuff that researchers have done previously with you know, patients who are going through pain management, and they give them like Wii games or physical therapy and stuff like that to kind of transport them, or VR helmets that are given to people who are dealing with pain management and trauma to like put them in a calm space. And I just think it's fascinating, you know, and it shows that some of the things that we like to dismiss and we like to see the negatives of, we are forgetting that there can also be positive reasons why we are so enthused and enamored of them, right? Like we always like to, we're not as much like this anymore. We're not as much reactionary a society about video games as we used to be, but we do tend to report more on why they're bad as opposed to why they're good.
Yeah.
But I do think that we cannot ignore that there is a physiological reason that we seek out play and we seek out these sort of stimuli.
Right.
And we can really exploit the good in those as much as giant corporations are currently exploiting the bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I've always believed that. You know, as somebody who's been obviously an enthusiast for video games my entire life, I've always thought that they provided a unique opportunity to enrich your life, not just distract from it. And I think this is evidence of that. I think that's. And it's so cool that it doesn't appear, at least on the surface, with this small study, which of course, you know, we'd love to see it repeated and we'd love to see, you know, a broader, wider ranging study. But it does appear that it is something that can't translate to other mediums, that it sort of requires it to be a video game.
It really
does. Kind of cool, you know?
It really does. Yeah, we tend to think of video games as like the additive of different media as opposed to like its own medium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh, video games, it's like the reading of a book and the direction of a movie and the, you know, blah, 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 and the music of this and that. And it's like, it so rarely gets looked at as its own thing.
Well, that's one of the reasons I think Tetris is the greatest video game of all time, because it has to be a video game. Like there's no other way to express that thing.
Oh my gosh. How many times have you gone in, like every time, like around the holidays, you'll see these like Tetris board games and like toys and stuff like that. And it's like, where you got to roll to see what piece is next. And it's like, no, dude, that's not Tetris.
Right.
That's not it. Yeah. I appreciate you doing it, but no.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I love it. That's cool.
Something fun, and I think it's something that's probably pretty relevant to the concerned citizens out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, play more Tetris, everybody. Let's do it. Let's get in there.
Hey, everybody, play more Tetris, eat more human hearts. Thank you to Synergy and La Vida Loca for sending in those stories. If you want to send in stories and perhaps get a terrible nickname that has nothing to do with you, you can submit them to the Discord. You can also send them to wehaveconcernshow@gmail.com. And once again, if you're looking to get into that Discord, then baby, you're looking to get into that Discord.
Oh, come on. It's the best place to be.
Please. You are looking to get into that Discord. The way to find out.
$1.
$1. Come on.
We're still working toward that 100% patron convergence rate on the
That's what we're looking for. If you've ever listened to a single episode,
$1.
You just give us $1 a month.
Simple.
That's it. How hard is it to get 100% conversion rate in any business? I don't know. It sounds easy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just do it, everybody. Come on. Head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns to find out more.